Stephen Hayes of the Weekly Standard has been I think it's fair to say, someone that's obviously tuned into this race, but been hoping that Paul Ryan's role on the national stage would increase, and it has. And has been covering this whole discussion and selection process and all the different players quite well. Joins us now to talk a little bit about it. Steve Hayes, you watch him on Fox News Channel and read him in the Weekly Standard. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Scott. How about you?
Good. Nice to catch up with you. I was thinking about you when we heard it was in fact Paul Ryan, because I know you and Bill Kristol have long been fans of what he brings to the table and wanted him to run for president. So it's an exciting time, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I think, with Paul Ryan, you've been talking about what you get is a serious guy. I would argue the intellectual leader of the Republican Party, someone who's going to try to make this argument as much as an argument based on substance and not an argument where petty attacks and, biting inaccurate ads can make the day. But a real debate about where we go as a country, give voters two rather stark, contrasting choices and ask them to decide.
Now, the cheerleading that's going on from the left, do you think it's sincere? Do you think they're really elated, or is this just? I mean, they're going to say this about whoever the pick was.
I think to a certain extent they're elated. I did a long profile of Paul Ryan. I think it came out about a month ago for the Weekly Standard, and in the process of doing that, I talked to several Democratic strategists, including James Carville and Joe Trippi, and I said to Carville, "Do you think that this would be the Obama team's first choice? I mean, if you could make this choice for the Republicans so that it gives Democrats the best running mate to run against, would you pick Paul Ryan as your first choice?" And he said, "No, I wouldn't pick him as my first choice, but, it'll give us an opportunity to highlight this contrast." Trippi had basically the opposite view. Trippi said, Democrats are going to be happy about this, and Democrats I talked to are going to like the pick if it's, in fact, Paul Ryan. But he thought that Mitt Romney needed to pick Paul Ryan. He said, Romney needs a bold choice. He needs to shake up the race. Paul Ryan would do that. He's a serious guy. He's a substantive guy. And Trippi made clear he didn't agree with Ryan on the issues, but said Ryan was the kind of guy that would, I think, give Romney the best chance to win.
How do you like the chances of being able to shake this race up? I mean, it seems like the plan is to say, okay, it's Ryan, and now can we get to the big and the comeback team, and stop the pettiness? Let's go to the big stuff. Is that possible? Does that have a chance of success?
Honestly, I think we're already there. I mean, that has become the debate, right? Since Friday. That's the debate. You've got Paul Ryan headed to Florida next weekend. He's going to make his case on broad entitlement reform, on saving Medicare by making the kinds of necessary changes that are needed to put it on a sustainable path. You're talking about tax reform. You're talking about these big issues that, despite the best efforts of the Romney campaign to this point, haven't been dominating the campaign. This is a campaign that's been dominated for more than 2 months by these little petty attacks and who's telling the truth and who's taking whom out of context. And look, in some cases, as in, the president's "you didn't build that" comment and the words that surrounded it, I think it was interesting and it was worth a debate. It was worth a discussion. It gives us a window into how he views the American dream. But for the most part, it's been petty, and these have been distractions. Now we're focused on the big issues. Now we're focused on the kinds of discussions that we should be having when we're staring at a debt crisis. And I think the pick of Paul Ryan virtually guaranteed that.
Now, much as this is a head-scratcher for us political punditry types, the vast majority of folks who are going to head to the polls in 80-some days, probably don't even know who Paul Ryan is. I mean, if you're a political junkie, you obviously do. If you follow the budget, you do. But I bet there's a large share of voters that don't even know who Paul Ryan is. How that really says the next 10 days are extraordinarily important here in rolling him out, right? Huge.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, certainly conservatives and movement conservatives know who Paul Ryan is, know him well, and are excited about the pick. I mean, as I traveled the country in the months before the pick, the name that I would hear as much as anybody, with the possible exception of Marco Rubio, was Paul Ryan. I mean, conservatives wanted Paul Ryan to be chosen. He's chosen. It's clear that energizes conservatives. I mean, this rally in Waukesha, Wisconsin that I was at yesterday, they were expecting 4,000 people, and they ended up getting 13,000. So clearly it's energized conservatives. I think the question is, how does Paul Ryan get defined from this point forward? Who does the defining? And what are the arguments that the Romney-Ryan ticket are going to put out on their own behalf? And I think it's very, very important at this point that they don't back away or they're not defensive about the kinds of things that Paul Ryan has argued about. He's got a plan. Now, I wouldn't expect Mitt Romney to adopt that plan wholesale every single point. But at the same time, I think if he tries to get too cute and run away from some of Paul Ryan's plans and away from the kinds of things that he's argued, it'll muddle this big message that they've successfully, I think, put out over the past 3 days, that this is fundamentally an election about leadership. And the president hasn't shown it. And this guy in the House of Representatives, along with Mitt Romney, are prepared to do that.
Anything since he's been announced in the weekend that has surprised you in the way of reaction here?
Not really. I mean, I think we saw Democrats over the weekend demagogue the heck out of this. You've seen Republicans, including Republicans who were somewhat skeptical of Mitt Romney, or at least not enthusiastic about Romney, express enthusiasm that had been lacking. This is true of several people I interviewed yesterday at this rally in Waukesha who said, I've been waiting for him to go on offense. I've been waiting for, to get excited, and I'm finally excited. I think that expresses the view of a lot of conservatives around the country. And I think it's fair to ask what Paul Ryan's impact will be, particularly in the upper Midwest, where I think he has an opportunity to really make an argument, to push an argument that he is good at pushing in language that people in the upper Midwest who understand what working hard means.
Very good point. I mean, it's worked for 7 terms in his home district in Wisconsin. We're Midwesterners after all. Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Ohio could be a big difference. So good point. Stephen Hayes of the Weekly Standard. See you tomorrow.